In the village of Umueze, a day of joy turned into a day of shock. The sun was bright, the drums were beating, and the air was filled with the smell of fresh palm wine. People came from far and near to see the beautiful Adobe. Married Chika, the rich trader, women tied their wrapper tight. Men wear their finest clothes and children run around with smiles on their faces. But while everyone was dancing, singing, and waiting for their bride to appear, Adobe was not smiling. She was sitting in her room, dressed in her white gown, her heart beating fast like a talking drum. Her best friend Ngozi looked at her and said, Ada, why are you shaking? This is your big day. Chika has money. He will take care of you. Everyone is waiting for you outside. But Adobe whispered, Ngozi, my heart does not agree. I do not love Chika. My parents forced me. How can I marry a man I do not love? Tears rolled her eyes as the talking drums outside grew loudly. The dancers called her name. The guests shouted, Bring out the bride. But Adobe stood up and looked at the window. Her heart was heavy, but her spirit was strong. And in one bold move, she left her gown, pushed the window open, and ran into the forest path behind her father's compound. The drums continued to beat, the people continued to sing. They thought the bride was coming, but the truth was shocking. The bride had run away on her wedding day. Ngozi shouted in fear, Ada, stop! Why are you going? But Adobe did not stop. She ran past the mango trees, past the riverbank, without no slippers, her gown covered with dust. She only had one thought in her heart: better to be free than to live in a cage of gold. When the news reached the crowd, people gasped, the music stopped, the elders whispered. Chika's face turned dark with shame and anger. But Adobe did not care. For the first time in her life, she felt alive. And that was how a wedding day cancelled, and how a wedding that was meant to be the talk of the year became the story of a bride who chose freedom over riches. The dome in Umueze village had never sounded so sweet. The whole square was alive with music, laughter, and dancing. The air was heavy with the smell of roasted goat meat and the sound of flutes carried across the village. Chika the groom stood proudly in front of crowd. He wore a white cloth with golden chain. His friend praised him. Chika, today you are the luckiest man. Your bride is the most beautiful in Umeze. He smiled, showing his white teeth, but deep in his heart, Chika was not smiling for love. He was smiling because he had finally brought respect. For years, people had laughed at him for being proud and boastful. But today, with Adobe as his bride, he would prove his worth and power. Inside the bride hut, Adobe sat silently. Back in the village square, the crowd grew restless. Where is the bride? The elders asked. The song is heavy already. Bring her out, shouted the drummers. Chika's face darkened. His pride could not allow shame. He stormed into the hut, only to see the window wide open and the room empty. He screamed, She has run away. The whole village gasped. The music stopped. The dancers froze. The palm one jaw slapped from a man's hand and crushed to the ground. The story spread like fire. The bride has run away on her wedding day. Chika's friend rushed to him. Do not worry, we will find her. But Chika's anger grew. No woman rejects me. I will not allow it. She must be found, even if I have to search the whole village and forest. And so men gathered with cutlass, torch, and dog. They followed the footprints into the forest. But Adobe was already far away. She had reached the river bank where the cool water washed her feet. She looked into the river and saw her reflection. Suddenly, she heard a voice, Adobe. She turned quickly. It was Emeka, the young farmer she had loved in secret. He carried a hoe on his shoulder and a basket of yam. His eyes widened in shock. Ada, why are you here like this, dressed as a bride? Tears rolled down her cheeks as he whispered, Emeka, I ran away. They wanted to force me to marry Chika, but I would rather die than live without love. Emeka dropped his hoe and held her hand. You choose freedom, Ada. You are brave. But before they could say more, the sound of drums. Emeka looked around quickly. They are coming. If they catch you, they will drag you back. Follow me. I know a secret path to the hills. And so, hand in hand, Adobe and Emeka disappeared into the forest. While behind them, the angry voice of Chika's men grew loudly. Adobe and Emeka ran deeply into the forest. Their foot pressed the soft earth. Their breaths heavy. The trees grew taller, their shadow hiding the lovers as they moved. The birds scattered, and the wind carried the sound of energy voices behind them. Chika's men were close. Search everywhere, Chika shouted, his voice filled with wrath. That girl was not shaming me. Emeka led Adobe to an old hut, hiding under a hill. Rest here, he whispered. No one comes to this place. It is safe. Adobe collapsed into a wooden bench. Her wedding gown tear, her face pale, but her spirit unbroken. She looked at Emeka with tears in her eyes. Emeka, did I do the right thing? My family will hate me. Chika will hurt me forever. Emeka touched her hand gently. Ada, you followed your heart. That is never wrong. What is love? If it is bought with wealth and fear, better to be poor with peace than rich with pain. Just as his word sank into her heart, the sound of footsteps drew near. Chika's men had found the hut. The door was creaked open. There she is, one of them shouted. Adobe, gasped. Mecca's hand, Chika, entered with fire in his eyes. So this is your hiding place, Adobe. Do you think you can disgrace me and run away? You belong to me. But Adobe stood tall, her voice steady. No, Chika, I do not belong to you. I'm not a god to be bought in the market. I'm a woman with a heart, and my heart is not with you. Chika's face turned red with anger. He moved forward, ready to drag her away, but Emeka stepped in front of Adobe. If you want her, you will have to fight me first. The men laughed, mocking Emeka. What can a poor farmer do against Chika and his words? But Emeka's courage did not shake. He picked up his hoe, holding it firmly like a weapon. His eyes burned with determination. The staff, Chika's pride crushed with Emeka. The men around them murmured, unsure whether to attack or step back. Suddenly, an old voice spoke from the shadow. Stop this madness. It was Elder Okoro, the oldest man in Umueze, who had followed quickly. He raised his staff and looked at Chika. You cannot force love, Chika. A woman's heart is not a piece of land to be bought. Today, you are ashamed, not because Adobe ran away, but because your bride blinded you. The crowd of villagers who had followed to watch nodded in agreement. Whispered, Rose, the elder is right. Chika's pride has disgraced him. Let the girl marry who she loves. Chika's hand shook. His pride was wounded deeply than any sword could cut. With a better cry, he threw down his cap and stoned away, leaving his men behind. The villagers turned to Adobe, but Adobe left her and spoke clearly. I will not marry for words. I will marry for love. I will marry Emeka. Emeka's eyes filled with tears of joy. He held her hand firmly, and for the first time, Adobe smiled with peace. From that day, the story spread across Umeza, and beyond people no longer called it the wedding of Adobe and Chika. They called it the day the bride ran away. And through her family was angry at first. Time softened their hearts. They saw Adobe happiness with Emeka and understood that true joy cannot be bought with riches. Please like my story, subscribe, and comment.